Hi there folks, my name's NovaWing24 and welcome to another Microsoft Flight Simulator product review, and today we are having a look at what is probably the most famous airframe for air racing, the Zivco Edge 540, brought to life in Microsoft Flight Simulator by the team over at LivToAir. So for those who don't know, this is probably, as I just alluded to, this is probably the most famous of the air racing aircraft, at least in the, maybe not so much in the flight simulator world, but in the real flight racing world, simply because it was the number one airframe that was used by many competitors in the sadly now defunct Red Bull Air Race series. It was the most popular airframe used by many of the competitors throughout its history. And the airframe went through several different variations, which the team at LivToAir have striven to recreate in this product that they've released to us. So before we get too far into the review, I do want to say a huge shout out and a huge thank you to the team over at LivToAir for providing the review copy of this aircraft today. And we're going to be doing a somewhat similar to our normal format reviews. We're going to be going through here. We're going to have a look at our external model here. We're then going to go through a cold and dark start, and then we're going to be doing some test flying, but instead of just a normal cruise flight, we're going to be getting down to it with some racing. So, alright, we're going to get, as I said, we're going to get started with the external 3D model here today. So, the 3D model from LivToAir is pretty damn amazing. The texture work has been done is also really, really good. Now, this is the second product from LivToAir that I've had the good fortune to be able to review and bring to you fellow virtual aviators, and I have to say that the modeling and the texturing has definitely improved. Like, I can see a marked improvement from their aero car, the Aeromobile, which I have reviewed previously, and that is, and I'm always pleased to see it when I see developers growing and becoming better. And I have to say that, you know, the 540 that we get here it looks like a 540. The detail that they've gone into in the airframe is really, really good, and I cannot fault the external model or the textures. I absolutely can't. I know some people might say that the textures are very clean and there's no dirt on it, but remember that this is a racing aircraft where, you know, they get cleaned literally right before they start they come out on display, and it's a racer. It's going to be cleaned for speed, so, you know, you get a pass on that one. But beyond the texturing, I do want to talk about the 3D models. Like, the 3D model, as I said, is really, really well done, very highly detailed, and something I want to share, and we'll go more into this later in the review. But you don't just get one version of the 540, the Edge 540 V2 with this. You actually get three different variants of the Edge 540 included with this package. And each one has its own custom external model. So you get the standard sort of original V2, which is a straight-winged aircraft. You then also get the V2S, and you get the V2, you get the V2W, which is the version we're looking at here, which is the racing variant, and then you get the SW1, which is sort of a hybrid between the basic V2, which is optimized more for aerobatics and also has the aerobatic wing fences on it. And then the W, which is the one we're looking at, which is the racing one, and then the SW, which is sort of a hybrid between the two. It has winglets, but they are a different design, and it's smaller in size. Not only do you get the different external models, though, the team actually have given custom flight dynamics and performance to each of those three versions. So it's not like it's a, you know, they just did one flight model and we're just going to give you three different external models just to wrap over the same flight dynamics. No, you actually get three custom flight models based on the version that you are flying and based on what you're wanting to do. If you're wanting to do more aerobatics or recreate what the most of the Red Bull pilots and racers actually flew, at least for the early years of the Red Bull Air Race series, then go with the straight-winged V2. But if you're wanting to go the final sort of supreme racing variation, then you can go for this one, the W, the racing variation. Or if you want to have something a bit of a hybrid in between, go for the SW variations. So straight off the bat, LivToAir already coming out of the gate with a strong case for this model by the fact that, as I said, like not only do you get the multiple external models, you get custom flight models for each one. And we'll showcase those flight models, as I said, at least for the racing version and the basic V2 later in this video. But I think that's enough of having a look at the external view of this aircraft. Let's now finish our external one and go into the office and get started with our cold and dark start to get ourselves into the sky and onto the racing circuit. Alright, so here we are in the office of the Edge 540W, and it is a pretty Spartan office, as you would very much expect from an air racing aircraft, because, you know, you need to save weight where you can, just like with F1 racing or rally car driving. You know, it's about speed, it's about precision, it's not about comfort. So it's not surprising that the office is fairly Spartan and fairly basic, but in some ways that actually sort of, you know, leads into the charm of this type of aircraft. Now, a couple of things to note here, and I'm going to highlight it because it is a constant bugbear for me. That probably one of my few negatives that I have with this aircraft. I'm going to get it out of the way right here, right now, and I've said this with other aircraft as well. I say this bearing in mind, and I've spoken with the developer about it, the fact that this aircraft, while it is, yes, it is very simple to start, and yes, you can use a Control E start if you would like to. And, you know, there's not a lot you have to do to start the aeroplane. My issue is that there is no in-sim checklist. There is nothing to walk you through starting the aircraft. There's, you know, not even on the phone, the sort of phone holder / MIDI EFB that you got here. There is nothing to help you through a new aviator through starting this aircraft. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? As I said, the aircraft that you know, this is a very simple aircraft to start, so there's not a lot to it. It is, you know, it is literally turn the fuel on, put the mixture, make the mixture rich, and turn the battery master on and turn the starter. However, even those steps can potentially catch new aviators where this might be the first thing. Now, if you started the default extra that comes with the sim, then you're already going to be ahead of the curve, and you will. It is the same cockpit flow. It is the same flow to be able to start the engine for that aircraft as it is for this one. However, it is something that bugs me no end when developers don't do it. So that is honestly my biggest negative for this model, for this package, is the fact that, yeah, there's no in-sim checklist, and there's also not even a manual. Now, I've spoken with the developer about this, and they have said that the manual is coming in the first update, which is planned for in sometime this quarter. So they will be releasing a manual with it, which will have that information in it, but it's an external source and not an in-sim checklist. And they've said at this time there is no plans for them to introduce the in-sim checklist. So that is something that it's a bugbear for me, and I will highlight it no matter who the developer is, that I think that is a negative. And as I said, like it's a small thing. As I said, the most likely the type of virtual pilot who's going to be flying this aircraft, going to be buying this package and flying this aircraft, you're going to know how to start one of these aircraft. However, having said that, for the sake of inclusivity of all levels of skills and all levels of abilities for virtual aviators, especially VR aviators, as Belgiota has pointed out to me and commented to me so several times, that the in-sim checklist is absolutely vital to them, because they don't have the option of going to an external app if they're on a PC, and Xbox users obviously have no option to do that, to be able to look up that information. So, yeah, it's a small thing. I've harped on about it probably way too much, but it is something that is it is a negative for me for this one. Anyway, all right, so probably something else to point out as well as a gotcha. So just like in the real world aircraft, there is no parking brake in this aircraft. So the parking brake has been given to us as a option on the phone on the holder here. So to enable that one, if you don't enable it and you're on a hill, you will roll. So just so you know, it is worthwhile putting in there. That essentially simulates the fact that, you know, the real world aircraft, when they start, they either have somebody hanging onto the wing, or they have the chocks in place to stop it moving away on engine start. So that is just something to be aware of as a virtual aviator. All right, okay. Now, as I said, the cockpit is very simple, fairly basic layout. There's not a lot going on here. Probably the only in terms of configuration changes, there is this cockpit configuration here. There are two configurations for each of the versions of the cockpits. There is the racing configurator here, which has the G-force meter here, because as part of your race, you actually do have G limits that you have to stay inside of in order to not to be disqualified or lose points. So you do have the G limiter there. The other option that you have if you're doing more on aerobatics is you have an aerobatics layout here with the standard 6. So that is a quick, simple button change. We are going to be starting this review off by doing some racing. I'm going to be testing my metal here at the Ascot course. And so I'm going to leave it set to the racing mode for now. But again, it's just something for you to be aware of if you do want to change those, and we'll have a look at the aerobatic configuration when we have a look at the standard variant a little bit later in the video. All right, now onwards to starting this aircraft. Okay, so first things first. Okay, first things first, we're going to turn the battery master on. All right, and we're going to open up the fuel. We're going to use the fuselage fuel tanks. I actually don't have any fuel in the wing tanks, so there are 3 tanks with this aircraft. It has wet wings and it also has a fuselage tank. Because we are doing some air racing, I've only got fuel in the fuselage tank today. So I've got my fuel tank set to fuselage. I'm going to turn my avionics master on. In terms of avionics, very basic in terms of avionics that we've got here. Literally all you have is radio. You've got a COM1 radio. You've got your transponder, and you've got the MVP 50 here over for your for all your gauges and systems. You also have a basic GNS 430 down here as well for reference if you so desire to use it, if you do happen to be doing a cross-country flight in it, which I will guarantee you that your computer chair is going to be far more comfortable for a cross-country flight in it than the seat that this aircraft actually has in real life, having sat in one. Anyway, all right, so that is pretty much that. That is set. Let's turn the fuel pump on. Okay. Now, one thing that I did notice as well is that, or it probably helps if you open up mixture. There we go. Okay, cool. So there we go. I have my mixture still in fuel cutoff. So we do have, so you've got the gauges. So the MVP 50 is functioning over here. All right, and with that, let's now turn the mags to start. There we go. RPMs, fuel flow is good. Everything is where it should be. And I'm going to turn the fuel pump off because, oh dear God, that sound is annoying. All right, now let's close our canopy. So our canopy control is just here. There we go. We've got a canopy close. Actually, you know what? I'm actually going to reopen that for taxi because the visibility in this thing when you're on the ground is atrocious. Probably one other thing to point out as well is that the fuses up here, the circuit breakers, they do actually work. So if you pull the GPS breaker, GPS stops working. So it's one of those little things that a developer absolutely doesn't have to do, but they did, and I like the fact that they did it. So, yay! That is what I like to see. I like to see little stuff like that, which you can do. All right, that is everything set here on the ground. Okay, I'm going to put my brakes on. Now, probably one thing before we get into the sky, because it is going to be a very, very quick once we take off, but I'll get to that when we get to the line off here, is that you do have the ability to do smoke on this aircraft here. And that is you can either use the in-cockpit switch, or you can bind that to your landing light toggle, so landing light switch, which is what I've done for our race. All right, with that, I'll get my feet on the brakes. I'm going to disable the parking brake. All right. And I'm going to start our taxi. Now, the scenery that we are using here today is from Flight Sim eSports League, which LivToAir is a sponsor of. So they're a virtual organization that has just started to bring some flight racing esports to life. And they have a number of sceneries available of various air race locations around the world, famous and not. And we are having a look. We're going to be using their circuit here at Ascot as our review video for the race circuit. Well, I'm going to be attempting to complete the circuit here. No guarantees on whether I'll be able to do it or not, as I take my position on the runway here at Ascot. All right, so now the Ascot has an interesting interesting race course here, because what it does is see how I'm just sort of just rolling gently here. So we're just going to put that parking brake on while we go over our pre-flight briefing here of this one. Alright, so race briefing here for what I'm going to be attempting to do while I do this part of the review video. So this is the eSports League Air Race Ascot UK circuit, and it is a ground start, just like it was in real life when it was part of the Red Bull circuit. So once you take off, you go straight through the start gate, which is pretty much directly in front of you on runway heading. There is then another gate after that, which is where you do a loop back. You go back through the start gate. You then have a series of 3 chicanes, 2 level wing air gates. The second one, after you go through the second gate, you then loop back over for lap 2. As you're coming back through for that, so that's completion of lap 1, and then lap 2, you come back through, go back around, come back through the chicane, and then once you do the loop over the back for the end of the double gate, you then come back through the finish gate, so instead of going right onto the chicane, you go left into the finish gate. So that is what we're going to be attempting to do for this review video. So I don't know how much I'm going to be saying for that one. Let's strap in and see what happens with this. Alright, with our preparations for our laps complete, let's see if we can do this and not make a complete mess of it. Alright, 2 laps. Let's see if I can manage to not get too many points off, but let's see how we go. Alright. Smoke on. Alright. First gate. Second gate. Alright. Now, probably this is one of those things where it is that I would like to see changed, which is the fact that the smoke, it's great that it's there, but at the same time, it's one of those things where, because it doesn't dissipate, it can be somewhat challenging, particularly on multi-lap races like this one, where I've got to come back through my own smoke trail, and I'm like, okay, alright, can I actually see the gate that I'm supposed to not fly through? And that is what we're about to find out. I think the answer to that is no. Well, yep, no. So, yeah, that's let's try doing this without the smoke. I think that might be a better thing to give that a go at. So let's try that. Let's reset for that. Alright, reset again for our next attempt, so let's give this another crack. because there's maneuver involved, you know, being all out with speed doesn't necessarily always help. Especially when we're trying to maneuver with the insane roll rate that this aircraft has. Okay, escape before we start our first wave back. Okay, next level. Oh, no, I think I took the top of that gate out. Okay, powering on. Okay, so this is lap 2. This is my final lap. Oh, no. Got wings level, but I think I was too high on that gate. That one was... yeah, I got a penalty on that gate. That is absolutely certain. Okay. Apparently the servers while I'm recording this video are not doing so well today. Oh, oh. Yep, that gate's gone. And this is one of the things that I love about air racing is it's one of those things that is just incredibly challenging and amazing to do. And this is something that this aircraft does. It really captures the skill that you need to be able to do this in an airframe that is, you know, for it. So there we go. Woo! Okay, and we'll at least put some smoke on as we come over the top there. All right. So at least I managed to get through it and didn't crash. That is something that I am very, very happy with, not going to lie. All right, let's go check out some other features of this aircraft. Now, one of the challenging things for this one, as I bring this around here, is trying to slow this aeroplane down because, you know, it's a racing aeroplane, so it doesn't like slowing down. So and of course, you know, there's no such things as flaps on this aeroplane. So trying to slow this aeroplane down for landing speed is very much a challenge. I mean, the wings are big enough that you still got plenty of lift being generated with it, but trying to get it down, get it slow enough for a safe landing is definitely a challenge. See if I can manage to not wreck it today. And I'm absolutely not going to lie to you, that is the best landing I have done in this thing in all my almost nosed it over, in all my practice flights prior to this review. That is absolutely the best landing I have done for this aircraft. All right, let's what we'll do now that we've got so that's the racing variant. As you can see, like, the roll rate on that is quite high. The speed and the power is fairly significant as well. But it is very much built for speed and those maneuvers, those limited maneuvers that it needs for the for doing air racing. So that is very much what it is designed for. Nearly did that. Nearly nosed it over. Ground handling is challenging, just like it is the real one. But all right, so let's take this opportunity now to move on from the racing variant, and let's now go have a look at the aerobatic variant. So as I was saying before, you do get three completely different models of this aircraft here, not only visually but also flight models. So the one that we started looking at was the 540 V2W, or the racing variant, and now we're going to be having a look at the V2 base edition. Along with the house LivToAir livery, you do get, as I said before, a number of racers liveries that actually flew in the Red Bull Air Race, along with a special Christmas themed livery that was included there because it was released just in time for Christmas for everybody. All right, but let's jump into RV2 now and let's take it for a bit of aerobatic flying. Alright, here we are at Reno Stead Airport as I am going to attempt to do some aerobatics with the base of 540 V2. So obviously visually the first thing that's very, very obviously different between the two is the wingtips. So you no longer have the curved winglets at the end there. Instead, you've got the aerobatic reference gates on the end there for aerobatic maneuvers. And we're going to use that, and we're going to have a look. Going to have a bit of a fly here and go through and I'm going to attempt some various different aerobatic maneuvers and see how they go, and make a point of some of the things that impress both not only myself but other virtual aviators who have far more skills and knowledge about aerobatics than I do when they were having a look at this aircraft as well. Now, one thing that I did want to address as well, and this is probably my other bugbear with this aircraft, is the sound set. So if for those of you who might be listening to the sound set and have gone, hey, that sounds awfully like the default extra 330, then you would be absolutely correct. It uses mostly the sounds from the extra 330. There are a couple of custom sounds in here to do with aerodynamics. So if you bringing on an aerodynamic stall, and also the prop strike. However, the engine sounds and many of the environment sounds are all default out of the extra 330. I'll be straight up and honest and say I have mixed thoughts on that one. First off, on one level I get it because aircraft are very similar classes. The engine, they're both like homing engines. They are very, very similar, but they are not the same engine, and they do have different sounds in the air. I mean, it's subtle, but it is a difference. So for me, it is a bit of a negative, and that is something that I would like to see improved, and maybe get a custom sound set added to this aircraft at some point in the future. I mean, for now it's okay, but at the same time it's also not, because we are 4 years into this sim's life. So at this point we probably really should all be expecting to have custom sound sets for all of our third-party aircraft, particularly payware aircraft. So yeah, I just wanted to address that point because I know that's been something that's come up a few times. But again, one of the things is that people will only notice it if you know this aeroplane and you've heard them a lot in real life. So it's a double-edged sword for this one, but yeah, it would be nice to see the sound pack get addressed at some point in the future. But we are mostly here to fly, so let's jump back in and do some aerobatics and see how we go. Alright, so in the office of the standard 540, and it's a common airframe, so there's not a huge amount of difference. Again, as I said before, we showed off with the W variant. You can change this one to race in, so if you do want to replicate the fact that many of the Red Bull Air Races flew this version as part of the air race, you can do that. That's no issue. But we're going to use it set to aerobatic configuration for today's little exercise today. Alright, beyond that, everything else is pretty much the same, so I'm not going to go through it again. Let's get into the sky and see what I can make a mess of while flying this aircraft. Alright, power on. That did not go as planned. Okay, so this gives me a great opportunity to be able to show off one of the neat little features of this aircraft. So let's have a look. So apart from the fact that my virtual self just died, also they have included a prop strike animation. So yes, if your prop strikes the ground, then guess what? Your prop will break and your engine will not work anymore. So there's that. Yeah, that was not how I intended that flight to go. I intended to show that off in a different way. But anyway, so there we go. All right. So now the question, of course, is how do you fix that? Okay. So the first things first is that you need to get yourself back on your wheels. So double tap the slew button, the Y key by default for PC users, will get you back on your wheels. Now the state of the aircraft, what it will do is that it will immediately switch your magnetos to off. So essentially it shuts the engine down when you have a prop strike. Once you're back on your wheels, you can then press this convenient little prop is broken fix button, and it will fix your prop and you can get back in the sky again. So let's try that again, shall we? All right, let's try that takeoff again, shall we? Okay. Definitely not the smooth aileron roll that I was aiming for that one, but already the roll rate is different. So the roll rate is higher with this version, but it doesn't stop quite as cleanly, I think, as the racing one does. So there's that. I can automatically see straight away. Now, something that I did want to point out with the smoke system as well is that the smoke system, for some reason, so you get a little notice there when you engage the smoke system and when you turn it off, but I've found that the white smoke doesn't necessarily generate all the time. I have had it generate for me, but then I've also had it not generate. So it's one of those things where you seem to have to deselect it, then reselect it, and then the white smoke does generate. So if you're looking at performing with white smoke, just so you know, that's how you just something to be aware of with that. All right, okay, let's see if we can do some aerobatics. Now let me try. I want to get some plenty of clearance for recovery here. Little puffs of white smoke as I was trailing that there. Alright, going for our entry speed. Now, one of the things that does impress me about the handling of this aircraft is the way the aircraft tumbles. And this was something that was commented to me by a fellow virtual aviator who is far more skilled at aerobatics than I am. He's noted that the tumbling characteristics of this aircraft are far better model than anything else that he's seen. So if I do something like that, the actual tumble that it does is one, terrifying from the cockpit point of view, but also it actually aerodynamically is sound and actually looks like what actually happens in aircraft when they tumble like that. So if I'm just going to go to the external view and have a look at that same maneuver in the external view so you can see what happens. So we're flying along and then we go. So that tumbling behavior is far more like what you expect to see in real life and challenge to get out of as well. Totally getting back in the cockpit to try and recover that one because that is very disorientating trying to do that from the external view as an aviator. But that behavior, aerodynamic behavior, is something that they have absolutely, the team of LivToAir have absolutely nailed, and far better than the default 330 or anything else that I have flown in the aerobatic class. So definitely full props for them for this, for their aerodynamic modeling and their flight modeling. And as I said, like the behavior for that is different across all three variants, like the severity of the tumble, the roll rate as well, as we sort of saw before as well. The roll rates are different based on the different airframe type that you choose. Alright, so let's see if we can do a couple of other basic maneuvers today. So one of my favourite ones, probably should have done that with smoke on, but I always love myself a stall turn. Nice and neat, and it does require different inputs based on which side I'm actually doing the stall turn on. So, which again is just like it is in real life. Go vertical straight up again, get to our stall speed. You have to have a different set of control inputs to go with the propeller rather than against it. Center the rudder, come back around. So there has been a lot of attention paid to the flight modeling for this one, and it is very much a different case, a different feel for each aircraft type when you're doing it. So for those, I think most people are going to end up probably flying the racing variant because, you know, racing. But at the same time, if you're looking at doing some aerobatics, then this is a great airframe to actually do some aerobatics in. All right, let's try some smoke times to see if I can do... Oh, made a mess of that. Yep, didn't put enough correction in as I came back down. That was definitely, I was fine until I wasn't. So this is something else to be aware of, is that, you know, aerobatics aren't something that you can just simply jump in and do. Like, you do have to be mindful of wind speed, wind direction, when you are actually doing that, as well as entry speed. So LivToAir have absolutely captured this really, really well with the flight modeling and the flight dynamics of this aircraft. I think they have absolutely nailed it. They really, really have. Roll rate is an insane 4,700. Is it 4,700? The roll rate of this one is just an insane. Just pulling my notes here as well. So it's a 420 for 4,700. That's the climb rate. So 420 degrees per second, as well as 3,700 foot per minute climb rate is what this aircraft is capable of. It is. Yeah, you pegged out straight away. Like, yeah, it's just pegged out at over 2,000 straight away. Just didn't even think about it. And in terms of the roll rate, yeah, it just absolutely, it is just nuts, the roll rate on this aircraft and these aerobatic aircraft. And as I said, like, they have absolutely captured that really, really well. Like, that is insane. The stopping, I feel that the stopping is possibly not as crisp as it could be, particularly the aerobatic version. I feel like the stopping could be a bit crisper. Or it could also just be the pilot. That is entirely possible as well, but it really is just so well done. Like, I am just so impressed with this aircraft in terms of its maneuverability, and watching things like the little key, like the keychain sort of flipping around as you're doing maneuvers. It's coded to the angle of attack, but it's kind of cool that it does that. It's those little things that just, it really does impress me, and I think that the team at LivToAir have done really, really well with this, and I am quite impressed. It's just the flight dynamics, the modeling are just so good. It's almost like a bit of a shame that there's those couple of little things which just really do, which do sort of let it down ever so slightly. But overall, for a $15 package, This is pretty damn awesome, and definitely blows the socks off the default 330. That's for sure. All right, let's bring us in for a landing and give our final thoughts on the 540, the Edge 540 from LivToAir Simulations. So a somewhat unusual, but I mean the aircraft does have this, is that one of the features of the Edge 540 is a canopy ejection system, and the team at LivToAir have actually modeled that for you. So if for whatever reason you find yourself in a need that you need an overwhelming desire to turn your Edge 540 into a convertible, you absolutely can. How you do that is that you engage the eject canopy latch here and then open the canopy here, and there goes your canopy, and you are now officially flying a convertible. Not 100% sure why you would want to fly Not 100% sure why you would want to fly a convertible, but you absolutely have a convertible available to you should you have the desire to fly in such a way. If for whatever reason you do that, you can reset that using the phone. However, you have to do it on the ground. So once you eject that canopy, you're not putting that canopy back on until you're down on the ground with the engine off. Just so you know. Alright, yeah, it really is hard to bleed off the airspeed on an aircraft that's just so aerodynamically sleek like the 540 is. Definitely putting in a lot of rudder to try and bring it in. Also trying not to fall out of the sky while we do it. Oh, that's a bit of a bumpy landing. Definitely more like my earlier practice landings. Alright, let's park up and then we'll give our final thoughts on this aircraft. Alright, so final thoughts on the Zivco Edge 540 thanks to LivToAir Simulations. Look, overall, this is a fantastic aircraft. Like, it is really well done. The flight dynamics are absolutely, for me, absolutely spot on. Like, as I said, like, for me, only having been in the backseat of aerobatic aircraft and never actually sort of had control of them, I can only sort of comment on my observations. But from what I see and, you know, what I compare to the real world, from watching the Red Bull Air Race for many years and watching various aerobatic displays, this has to probably be, for me, I think the closest of any aerobatic aircraft that I've seen, definitely for Microsoft Flight Simulator. So for that regard, I think the team has done really, really well. In terms of the modeling, absolutely top-notch and spot on. The inclusion of things like the prop strike animation, the canopy ejections, little nifty thing, and the way that's been modeled and brought into the sim is really, really well done. The fact that the team provide us with not only not two, but 3 different versions of the Edge 540, and not only in terms of the visual model, but also provide different variations of the flight dynamics to go with said different variants of the aircraft. Again, absolute top notch and really, really well done to the team at LivToAir. On the negative side for it, it's a small thing, but the lack of the in-sim checklist is it is a negative for me. Yes, I understand that this aircraft is a very simple aircraft to start and operate, so it is I'm going to say less necessary, but it is, for me, it's still necessary. So the simplicity of the aircraft does alleviate the need for that checklist somewhat, but it is something that it is a hill that I will continuously die on with many developers, and I still maintain that, yeah, it absolutely should be there. Even if your aircraft is basic and simple and you feel that it may not need it, I still think that it does need it. The lack of the manual, as I said, the developers already said that that is being addressed in the first patch, so not a huge issue there. So good to see that at least they are addressing that one. The use of the default Extra 330 sound set is a bit of a negative, not a huge one, but one that does take it just takes the shine off this, because they are, although they are similar engines, they are not the same. Now, as I said, like, there are some custom sounds included with this package for the stall, for when the aircraft is close to an aerodynamic stall, and for prop strike and a couple of other particular individual moments of the aircraft. However, yeah, just aliasing the default 330 sounds is was a bit of a letdown. And as I said, like, it just takes a bit of a shine off this overall package. Overall, though, it's still a fantastic package, and definitely good value for the price, coming in at around about $15 US from either the in-sim marketplace coming out shortly, or from Sim Market. So you're still getting a pretty good package for the price. As I said, like, the only sort of, for me, the only sort of those are the only two sort of minor downsides, and they just take the take the shine off what is otherwise an absolutely fantastic package. So for me, I'm going to have to give this one 4 loops out of 5 for this one. As I said, it is a fantastic product, but just has that little bit of a shine taken off. But overall, if you're looking for an aerobatic aircraft and a racing aircraft that is pretty damn close to being true to life, and really gives you that sensation and the challenge of being an intrepid air racer and an aerobatic pilot, then I'm pretty sure you're going to be hard pressed to go past this aircraft. You really would do. Alright, so with that recommendation, I want to say a huge shout out and a huge thank you once again to the team at LivToAir for providing the review copy of this aircraft. And this aircraft is available now from Sim Market and shortly from the in-sim marketplace. And don't forget to check out the Flight Sim eSports League with their upcoming air race series and their fantastic scenery available from flightsim.to. And with that, folks, that does round out this review video. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, as always, to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying these videos and want to see more. And of course, as always, you can catch up with me and all the things I'm up to between videos by finding me on Facebook and on Twitter and on Twitch. Just search NovaWing24. Alright, folks, thanks very much for watching. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.